Hello everybody, Harvey Talks Prison here. Excuse me. What? Anyway, somebody had asked me to do a video about the worst things I saw in prison. And I think I've done a couple videos on that. And so I went back and I was looking at one. It's about fights and stuff. And I thought, well, I watched it. I ended up watching it. And I don't think, because since it was one of my earlier videos, I don't think it was that good. You know, when I first started doing videos, they was bad. So I thought I'd redo it. But you can go back. I think I'm going to keep it. You can go back and watch it. But anyway, do me a favor and hit that subscribe, hit that like, share this. Let's go. Some of the worst ones was at Missouri State Penitentiary, you know, MSP, and some of them involved me. But there was one time, I'll tell one about me first. A couple of them actually. First one, I went to the upper yard, and you gotta understand at that time, in that prison, most of the blacks were in the upper yard, most of the whites were in the other yard, and usually if he's one or the other, you didn't go to one part of the yard without somebody with you, you know. But I went up there by myself. I hadn't been there very long, and these two guys came up to me and basically told them I was going to be their boy. They put it in a lot coarser terms, but I spit on one of them, so and told them where to go, you know. So they put the knuckles to me for a little bit, you know. And I started walking away, and I should have kept my mouth shut, but I called them some punks, and they came back and they put the boots to me. And years later, the reason I'm kind of laughing is years later, some guy was in there a young guy was in their prison. I was in a different prison at this time. This guy was asking me, telling me, this other guy, telling about the walls. Everybody wanted to know about the walls that hadn't been there, you know, because it is well known for its violence. So I told him that story, and when I got to the part where they was putting the boots to me, he says, "What were you thinking?" I was thinking I should have kept my mouth shut. And we all kind of laughed, but that was actually what I was thinking. And this other story, I mean, I hadn't been there long at all. And it was before the story I just told you. And so I was heating water up in a stinger to make instant coffee. That's all we had was instant coffee. And it was just getting hot when this guy comes up to me. And I don't know what was going through his head, because he ended up making a lot of people down the walk mad. Some of them he didn't do that to, but even the ones he didn't do it to, they were kind of upset about it. But he takes his three-piece out and puts it on the bars. You know, we had to open, there's bars in the front, and I take that water and throw it on him, on his three-piece. Well, he screams and runs off, and my cellie wasn't there at the time. He was outside. But this guy comes up to me and said, "Man, did he just do that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, and I told him what I did, you know, and threw the hot water on him. He goes, "Man, I hope it was boiling." I said, "Well, it was pretty hot." But I never saw the guy for a long time after that, you know. And one day I'm going down to the lower yard, and you gotta go down this bank, like in between these two buildings. There's like a road like thing, and here comes this guy, and he goes, "You remember me?" Well, I didn't remember him, you know. You gotta realize, everybody, whites and blacks, at that time when I first got to prison, all looked the same to me. Whites all had this long hair and these beards. They all looked like bikers to me. And blacks all looked the same to me too. I said, "No, I don't know who you are." He reminded me who he was. He told me he was gonna wet me up. I mean, he put it in a lot, like I said, a lot worse terms. But I was nervous, probably even kind of scared, but I told him I was going to take it from him and put it where the sun don't shine. But in reality, I was nervous. So we get to fighting and rolling around on the pavement and gravel and stuff, and by the time I get it from him, I get knocked down by the CO. And I mean, I pretty much ate gravel and stuff. And he pulls me up, you know, he handcuffed me, and another one's been handcuffed, and he tells me, he goes, "That piece wasn't yours. You didn't have that in your hand." I said, "What?" And he said, "When they talk to you, you didn't have it in your hands." So I said, "Okay." He goes, "I'm tired of this dude. He's always doing things like this." So, which makes me think he might be a little off, you know. Anyway, he's leading me away, and I said, "Where are we going?" He goes, "We're going to medical." And he said, "You know, you're bleeding." And I get to looking, and the front of my shirt is all red, and apparently I'd been hit twice, and luckily not that deep. But I didn't even know it. I didn't even feel it. You know, it was weird. But as we got closer and time went on, it started like kind of burning, like a stinging sensation. But I seen guys, they used to have, you know, regular mop ringers, mops and mop ringers. I've seen a guy get hit with a mop ringer, and it's almost like a Western movie where, them old Western movies where Native Americans would scalp somebody. That was kind of the way it looked. But there was always mess being cleaned up, you know, and water pouring, and like if it was outside, they just poured water, like 5-gallon buckets of water, and wash it away. But I did see them in other, even though the other prisons weren't violent, they had their moments too, you know. I seen, one time I was going to a visit. This is the walls, MSP. I almost forgot this story. And you go into this like side port, and there's like a control center, and there's a hallway going down one way, and that's medical. There's a doorway on this side, and that's visiting. So I'm standing there. For some reason, they're having me wait there. And this guy comes in, he has a white shirt on, and it has holes all over it, and it's red. And he's staggering. I don't even know how he was even walking, you know, let alone talking. He said, "I need medical." That was quite obvious. People have told me out here that what I did was wrong, but I don't think it was, you know. I said, "Yeah, you do," and just kind of put a couple fingers and held him back, kind of pushed him back. And there was guards. They saw it in the control center, so they was coming out to help. I didn't want to get any of that on me because I had a visit. If I did, well, then it could have slowed my visit up. I would have missed out time, on visiting my family, my parents and my brother. And I didn't want that. And there was help coming on the way, And I don't know what, I assume he made it. I don't know though, I'm thinking if he was walking, couldn't be too bad. But there was a lot of things going on back then, every day, all day, there was something. And people ask sometimes about locking the sock, and yeah, they had those, and I seen them used back there a few times. But to be honest, if I was gonna, I'd rather get hit by a shank than a lock in a sock. I mean, they can do some serious damage. They really can. And yeah, I know shanks, thumpers, pieces, pokers, whatever you want to call them, they can too. But I mean, I've seen some devastating things done with a lock and sock, and it's not good, and of course, yes, I've seen devastating things done, people getting poked up too, but still, I think I would prefer that. That's just my opinion, from what I've seen. Now, this story, I think I told it in another video where a guy ties his celly up and puts a stinger in his backside and plugs it in, and that ended up giving him. But there's a guy with a stinger, and he tied his celly up and put a stinger in a place where the sun don't shine and plugged it in. And it was one of the 500 watt ones, so it didn't take long, and it blew up, So you can just imagine. There was people used to take light bulbs. I've told this story too. It didn't happen too much when I was there, but it used to happen more common. And they'd put fuel in the light bulbs, a lot of times mixed with oil, and then they'd screw it in, and they wouldn't screw it in all the way. Guy pulls the string, and it doesn't come on, so he screws it in, boom. This is a funny story to me. Kind of a it's not really funny, but it is. And this happened up in Chelsea, and I worked in the satellite kitchen, which is a separate kitchen, but all they do is just make trays for the whole. And these two guys, one was like 7 foot tall, huge. I mean, he didn't have abs or anything, he had a gut on him, but you could tell he was strong. And there's another guy, probably just a little bit under 6 foot, but he was big too. And these guys they got along in the kitchen. I wouldn't call them friends, but they got along, and they had to work together because we worked in pairs. Well, they get to playing around and throwing food at one another. And it was all fun and games until the shorter one picks up a pancake and basically slaps the dude with it. and it was on. The big dude, picked the dude up like some type of wrestling move and slammed him down on the floor and just started, stomping him. But that just shows you how fast and how quick these things can happen. Just in an instant. So nowadays, well, it's not so much anymore since they got tablets and they can call you on tablets. But after I got out, Kevin and a couple of others that I stay in contact with at Licking, they was telling me how it was getting real bad on the phones because you have 15 minutes on the phone and then you can't call back for an hour. But what people were doing was getting on their call, and the 15 minutes is up, they was using their partner's PIN number and calling more. And other people got tired of it and started doing the hokey pokey, And as Rick from Vegas Prison Stories would say. But I think that has kind of stopped or slowed down because they got tablets now and they can call them tablets. So there's no need to be fighting over these phones or anything, But it doesn't have to be phones. Oh, there's this one story. I should tell this one. There was a dude in prison. I knew him, and got along with him. He was cool and everything. But this other guy comes in, and when this other guy comes in, his demeanor changes. I mean, he would look at this guy with just absolute hate. I mean, you could see it all over his face. Come to find out that dude that had come in had done something really bad to his sister. You guys know what I'm talking about. So, rhymes with grape. So one day, he gets talking to a bunch of people and gets messages to other housing units, and there's 2 yards. Well, one day, this group of guys that he had talked to starts a ruckus down there, like a fight with another group of people. Now, I don't know if both groups were involved in it, if it was planned with both groups, or the one group didn't know anything about it. But anyway, this fight breaks out, whether it was real or not real. It breaks out, and all these guards go running down there. The other yard had no guards in it, and that dude was out there, and this dude just goes to town on this guy, wetting him up, doing the hokey pokey. I mean, and he was angry as he was doing it. I mean, he was like screaming and at the guy he was that did that to his sister. I mean, it was just nothing but rage, and I'm sure the guy didn't make it, but I never saw either one of them again. Then there was this guard, and to be honest, this guard, never bothered anybody. He seemed pretty cool and laid back, I mean, if you did something wrong and you had a violation coming, he'd give you the violation, but you had it coming, And other than that, he never bothered nobody. He might give you a warning once in a while if it's something minor. But for some reason, he was harassing this guy, and I don't know if he was harassing him because he had something personal going on with him or because the guy was black. But I'm thinking if it was because he was black, why wasn't he doing it to all the black people? It just seemed like it was this guy. I mean, he's shaking him down all the time, taking his property that was on his property list, and he'd have to go through all kinds of trouble to get it back. So one day, they called yard. Every hour, they would say 10-minute movement. And what that means, you got 10 minutes to get to where you're going. You can go outside, come in, whatever, go to the library, gym, whatever. But you got 10 minutes to get to where you're going or where you need to go. So they call it 10-minute movement. Now, after the 10-minute movement, there's fences between the housing units. And when the 10 minutes is up, they lock these gates. And you can't go in the housing unit or out of the housing unit. So he waits till right when they're saying 10-minute movement's up, and he comes up. We used to get these small crock pots. They wasn't very big, but they'd allow us to have them. They don't no more. You can have them if you already had them, but you can't buy anymore. And he puts this crock pot in a laundry bag and swings it as hard as he could. Hits this guard in the back of the head, knocks him down. The weird thing is the guard jumps right back up and he puts his dukes up and starts going at it with him, you know? Starts knuckling with him. And these guards had to open these gates and everything else to, you know, come in there. And so we got to see him fight for a little bit. But they sent him home, but he insisted on coming back the next day, and he had like this patch over the back of his head, you know, like tape and gauze and stuff. But I'm wondering, and when he hit him with his crock pot, it was like shattered, you know, the inside part of it just like came apart. And so I'm wondering, why wasn't, it seemed like he wasn't injured as much as he should have been, you know. But I've seen guards, I've been threatened by guards to beat my ass. I've seen prisoners jump on guards. I've seen, I even seen two guards beating this guy that was strapped to a chair in Potosi. These chairs, you know, they strap you in. Well, I was delivering food to one house, and they had it, you can look into the bubble, you know, the little control center thing, and they had this monitor, and I could see the hallway down where the cells is at, and they had this guy in the chair, strapped to the chair, and just going to town on him. This is the truth, guys. This stuff happens. The guard in the bubble knocks on the door and kind of turns the monitor and tells me, "Don't be looking." And so I guess the guard gets a hold of one of the others, and he comes out there and goes, "What are you looking at?" I said, "I need you to sign for this this food cart, you know." He goes, "Why are you looking up in the bubble?" I said, "Well, when I see something that catches my eye, I'm going to look." And he goes, "You know, that can get you in trouble." And I said, "What kind of trouble? Like the trouble that guy's in back there?" And he signs a paper and he hands it to, shoves it right in my chest and says, "Get the hell out of here." And the weird thing about that is, not long after that, you know, I got off of work and everything. I just get back to my cell, and 3 guards come up. Usually one guard will shake your cell down, but 3 guards came up and told me and my cell to step out, and they just tore our cell apart. I mean, trashed it. Guards do that a lot. Some will and some won't tear your cell apart. But I kind of felt this was in retaliation for what happened earlier, you know. Anyway, this is a message to people, young people. You know, the inner city kids, they're probably used to all this stuff, but all these farm kids around here, you guys are in for a rude awakening when you go to prison. I'm telling you. You think, oh, it's cool, Uncle Joe's there or somebody's there. Uncle Joe may not be able to save you. You know, you're walking out in that yard with no lawyer, and your mommy and daddy ain't with you. You're on your own, dude. I gotta figure out why this camera keeps stopping. Anyway, I hope you guys have great holidays coming up. And stay safe out. You know, there's a cold going around. Hope you guys get, you know, if you're sick, I hope you get well. If you're not, I hope you don't get sick. Other than that, I'll see you next time, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Bye.